All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Mania 7 Key World Cup 2026. We are back, starting off with the Sunday block of matches after quite a grueling Saturday full of upsets here and there, and some very ferocious tiebreakers as well. On that note, we continue on with the second half of the matches that we got for this block, and we're going to be starting with none other than perhaps one of the more similar situations to that of South Korea against Denmark, going to be that of the Philippines, seed 2, going up against Singapore, seed 31. The Philippines is basically one of the countries in the 7-key scene that is basically just almost nigh unmatched in general, having won first back in 2023, whereas as for Singapore, they have quite a bit of history. They did get pretty high. They did almost just about get podium back in 2018 and 2016, albeit unfortunately not enough. So they're looking to try and prove their worth once again, trying to see whether they can at least try and stack up to the stakes against the Philippines here. But as usual, I'm your host, Afterman2, and joining alongside me is going to be none other than Potassium F. What's rocking?
Yeah, going to be interesting to see this one here. Of course, as you said, one of the biggest seeding discrepancies that we've got. Philippines with a new and improved roster from previous years. I think the past 1 or 2 years they've had maybe not quite at their full strength, but this year once again we've got an incredible roster coming out for them. Obviously Oji-san, known as Kura, Boji and Sani are staples in some of the past rosters. Singapore as well, managing to get by, passing the qualifiers at seed number 31, so just scraping in. It is going to be very difficult for them to win any points against the Philippines, but we'll see how they manage and how they fare in this matchup here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair with a lot of teams in this tournament, there isn't really much you can so expect anymore due to how pretty much everyone has been playing really well throughout this weekend alone. And we have seen some top-tier teams as well struggling with some of these maps as well due to the lack of real difficulty that then they may be used to facing when it comes to the physicality department in general. So it's going to be really interesting, I'd say, for the Philippines here, and for trying to see how Singapore can at least try and tackle them. We see a Rice 1 protect for Wonderful Paradise. Bit of straightforward pick
with these Rice 4 protects. What's up with the top teams protecting Rice 4 so far this week?
Bro,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay, honestly, I don't blame you. Me neither. I don't understand it one bit.
Okay, look, Philippines, they're probably going to pick it, and by all likelihood, they're probably going to win it anyway, to be fair. But, like, Rise 4 is, one of the more straightforward maps in the pool. We've already seen some of the best players in the entire world on this map. In a tournament situation, they can still miss. And Rise 4 is the most punishing map in the pool if you miss.
Yeah, quote
I feel
unquote
like,
the most easiest map.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you'd want to go the other end of the spectrum if you're Philippines, protect one of the EX picks instead. But again, this is a very big seeding discrepancy. So Philippines, look, if they really wanted to, they could pick anything. They should be very comfortable with the entire pool here. Singapore are going to be trying to pick where they fare the best, I guess, which typically so far this weekend has been some of these more straightforward Rice picks for most of the lower seeded teams. So I assume we're going to be seeing a lot of Rice early on here. But Philippines actually banning LN1, so they don't want to deal with the LN actually.
Yeah, no, LN1 is definitely one of the most fair bans coming from the Philippines in general. I mean, I definitely feel like generally going into a map pool like this, I'm pretty sure it can be stated that LN1 pretty much comes across as ban bait if you at least pit it up against every other pick in this map pool alone. Happy Girl also takes, the luxury of that ban as well. Definitely straightforward choice as well.
LN3 is a wild. I would not expect any team in the tournament to ban LN3 out of all of them.
Yeah.
That is the most comfortable LN pick, and weirdly enough, both teams have left up LN2, which has been the least comfortable LN map for any team. That is still up. We might be able to see. I don't think we've seen it. At least I haven't seen it in any of the matches so far. Maybe while I was asleep, it might have potentially gotten played, but we'll see if that gets picked. For now, Singapore are going to go right for their first protect here. Going to be Rice 1, the speed map.
Yeah, by the way, for logistic reasons, LM2 has been played in a match before. I believe it would have been played between, was it France and Canada? Yeah, that match. It was yesterday.
So very much not in the Australian time zone then. The furthest you could get away from, in fact. So I was not around for that, unfortunately. But I would love to see it being played live here between these two teams if we do get to that point. But now, seems like both teams are slightly favoring the Rice picks first. But this one being Singapore's first pick, going to be important for them to get off the bat strong here. But you have to imagine Philippines still has a fairly strong advantage when it comes to accuracy here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the understanding that of... So wait, whose pick is this? Is it
Singapore's.
I believe this is Singapore's. Okay, yeah, alright, sure. So like, alright, thanks. I definitely feel like for Singapore, it definitely makes sense that they kind of want to go for their more comfortable picks. So to say, like, first thing, if they want to clear some maps out of the block just to try and see whether they can at least tackle the Philippines here. It's just that it's a bit of an uphill battle for the Singaporeans here, for lack of a better descriptor, just because of the fact that everyone pretty much knows that the Philippines has always been a really prestigious team within the 7 key tournaments in general. So I think generally it's going to be really hard for Singapore to try and stack up to that. But who knows? Maybe Singapore does have a little trick up their sleeve going into a map like this.
Yeah, now the problem for Singapore as well is, you know, you'd normally want to try and punish some consistency or accuracy issues from the top seeds in an early stage, but I don't think Philippines are going to give that much away. We can already see Boji, the player to look out for in this stage, 99.95 in the intro. Singapore, both of the players dropping off in accuracy a little bit, down 99.3 for Doggy, that sucks. 99.5 for both Origami Best and Arquin. So it's going to be a bit of an accuracy lead over to the Philippines because of Boji.
Yeah, the fact that Boji's basically just acting through this map really well, even with the fact that they've got hidden on, is definitely something to be concerned about, because you can barely even see like the nose that he's pressing, even if they are just literally a lot more index stream orient, for example. Whereas but again, like, this scoreline is not really that safe either. It's only about 10,000 points in the advantage of the Philippines for now. So if it does come down to some kind of fatal misjudgment from them, that could definitely swing things over. And we kind of see Arquin actually kind of dropping in accuracy, kind of matching that of Origami Best's accuracy here on the supporting side.
But matching is more than enough, because Boji, big AC drop, quote unquote, down to 99.9, but still more than enough to grow this lead over time. 15,000 points, all 4 players still on the full combo. So all players finding it fairly comfortable, but that is going to favor Philippines. Origami Best does find a miss. That is going to seal the end of the map. But ultimately, doesn't seem like it would have mattered either way, because Philippines are not giving them a single inch, as it looks like we're closing out with a very clean team score here. Very good full combo from Doggy, that sucks as well, but going to be an early break point. Yeah, we can see Boji's ratio prowess coming in here. The 2-digit 300 count in the first map.
Literally the only outlier in the entire lobby, basically MVPing that map as well, which is definitely a strong effort coming from the Philippines as well. I believe this is an old... I mean, I don't believe it. I don't really know if Boji has played multiple times in the 7K World Cup in the past, but
oh,
the
definitely,
fact that... Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
Boji has like been a staple in past teams.
Yeah. So like the fact that they're already like starting to match off with a 97 perfect run on the map with only just 1 great is honestly disrespectful to the Singaporean team. Like, literally just not giving them much of a chance as they go for Rice 3 next. No, Rice 5. Goodness me. Hello.
Interesting first pick. Not one that you would typically go for. This is more of the technical, hard to act, weird kind of bursty pick in a way, which is not one that you would consider very comfortable compared to the other Rice maps in the pool, compared to the other general maps in the pool as well. So an interesting one to go for, but of course, this being such a hard map to get good AC on means that if you can get good AC on it, the accuracy difference is just going to be an absolute canyon. And I feel like
Hmm.
Singapore might be struggling to keep up with the accuracy side of things on a map like this. We'll see all 4 players staying in once again makes a lot of sense. And we'll see if Boji can find the same point lead that he did on Rice 1.
Yeah, it's gonna take a bit of effort to commit to that on a map like Amusing Colorful Pudding, for example, because of how this map is a lot more volatile in terms of how it addresses the more technical patterns in it, where it's basically just a plethora of these more swung patterns mixed in with some flams, some graces, just overall really tight and precise patterns that you really need to try your best to act through, which we definitely have seen a lot of players do really well on a pick like this and not really allowing themselves to phase so badly. But even then, it does look like Arc was also kind of struggling with a lot of these patterns in terms of accuracy as well, not managing to at least maintain such a ratio as Boji as for the time being. And while Origami Best and Doggy That Sucks is basically just matching that.
Yeah, the 2 Singaporeans actually holding on really well right now, both around 99.4 average. Arkwin dropping down to 99.1. That's going to give Singapore a little bit of an opportunity, but the problem here still is Boji. 99.9 halfway into the map. I don't think we've ever seen close to this accuracy in this map. And there goes Origami Besak. Combo as well. Now dropping an accuracy dip below Arkwin, so this point lead is going to grow quite large all of a sudden.
Absolutely. I mean, especially with the fact that Singapore is still at least consistent as a team on the map like this. I feel like it's definitely potential that they could potentially make something out of this. They just really need, like, perhaps someone to match that of Boji, because so far they pretty much just have 2 Arkwins on their team, but they don't really have someone that really stands out across the crowd in accuracy here. And they also have like way thicker beacons in their unstable rate as well, not really as inherently cohesive as some of the other accuracies that we've seen, and there's still a lot of misjudgments coming out and bleeding from bears and players on the board, even with a lot of these really tight staircase one-handed patterns, for example.
That's a nuts score as well. Boji again with, well, actually the first time getting the clean double S with an incredible ratio at that 996k. You can see there's not really any score that comes close to that in this lobby. And that is more than enough to secure Philippines their second point, going to 2-0 up. You can see the ratio difference. Like Arkwin getting almost 6 times the 300 count between the 2 Philippines players.
Bro, literally. That's just a scary thing. Like, when you have a top tier team, you kind of already know that it's probably bound. You're going to have some players just absolutely demolish some maps as if they are literally just a map in a construction site waiting, or well, a building in a construction site that needs to be demolished with a wrecking ball or something like that. That's literally what I feel is the purpose of Boji on the side of the Philippines for this iteration, considering that he does have quite the history as a player in general, not only just in 7 key, but also 4 key as well, especially from the Filipino Nationals, which was hosted for quite a while as well. So he's definitely shown his prowess within that field alone, and I think that's definitely a factor that comes into play here as well. He kind of already knows the factor behind Tournament nerves in general, so he very much knows his way around things, as we see a swap out for Arkwin with Ochisan for this map.
Yeah, always a scary name to be seeing, although Kura typically not going to have quite as good accuracy as Boji does, especially in the early stages. You have to imagine, you know, just generally speaking, from 7k MWCs past, Kura has been kind of one of the best players. You say like top 2 or 3 players in the world when it comes to tournament performance. But we'll see how he does early on. This one being the slow chord strain map picked by Singapore. So we're going to be picking out the entire rice pool just about. And there goes, just as I was talking him up a little bit, there goes Kura's combo about 50 into the map.
I mean, it's fine. That was literally one of the earliest misses you could afford. I'm pretty sure, like, as the map goes on, there's gonna be misses that are gonna be way worse than that one, that are gonna be a lot more faithful to one of the teams' scores, especially because we've seen from Singapore, Origami kind of tends to struggle with patterns that are kind of dense on the right side of things. Whereas it's not entirely the same for Doggy That Sucks. It's really just about the team consistency, considering that they did have a few blunders during the qualifiers as well, which kind of held back their scores. And I think in general, but even despite that, everyone on Singapore is doing really well until we got that one miss from Origami Best.
Yeah, it's the single misses hurting Singapore now. But Boji finding a miss himself. Okay, very interesting things going on here. That's 2 misses to 1, although, as you said, Kura's miss was so early in the map that it doesn't really matter that much for combo. What does matter right now is Origami Best's accuracy falling below 99%, and Doggy also gets another miss for Singapore. No full combos on the board by any player, and that is just going to keep things squarely in the Philippines side with that accuracy advantage. There goes Origami Best combo once more, just going to balloon this up to 30k.
Yeah, it's just these roll misses alone going into the final third of the map that is basically the worst place that you could even afford to miss, because of the fact that if you're going into a consistency-oriented map such as Bloody Mare, for example, you want to ensure that you can at least act these patterns as best as possible. The brackets that are incorporated within the cool streams in this map in general are just really dense to go for, and that's exactly what Doggy That Sucks is literally struggling with, and just anyone for that matter. Even with, for the cases of Oji-san and Boji, for example, it's only like once. It's something that really catches out everyone, regardless of if you feel that you're just immune to such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, the players on Philippines much more comfortable with this kind of pattern, but it's also just one of those, oh yeah, Singapore's struggling towards the end here. Just one of those types of patterns that it makes me uncomfortable watching this pattern being played, let alone playing it. And oh god, okay, Boji, again, we're seeing a 992k with a miss right in the middle of the map because of that 81-300 count.
That's insane. Imagine what the score would have been if not for that one miss. I feel like that probably would have breached the 998k containment chamber, but it does look like the Philippines are going to be opting in for Vice right after. Immediate pick after what was already a pretty rocky pick, not just for the Philippines, but everyone really. So going into this map is actually going to be kind of interesting if it does come down to everyone actually kind of pulling their weight in the consistency department, because that's basically what Vice in principle just demands for like what the concept of the map is worth. Yeah.
Now this one, I said before when Philippines protected it, I think this is, objectively speaking, not a great pick for the Philippines. I mean, like, relatively speaking, I should say. Obviously, every map is a good map for the Philippines, but I feel like this is one where the variance of scores that we'll see in the lobbies is going to be fairly low, because Singapore should also, you would have to expect, get quite good accuracies on this themselves if they can keep up with this density. So any mistakes, like we saw on that previous map from the Philippines, if Philippines miss a couple times like they did there, it is within the realm of possibility for Singapore to snatch a breakpoint off of this one. But at the same time, if we're already seeing 2-digit 300 counts from Boji on the other Rice maps, oh no, what are we going to see on this one?
Imagine the sub 10 perfect V1 double S.
And we've gotten close to it twice so far in this tournament. We'll see if Boji can beat that one out. Off to a good start. Actually, Singapore, though, is off to a better team start overall. Origami Best is crushing it right now, 99.95. 99.9 for Doggy That Sucks as well. Arquin is actually dragging Philippines' score down by a tiny bit, but there's a miss from Doggy That Sucks. That is going to hurt so much.
Yeah, and I miss from Doggy that sucks is really going to anchor the score down of Singapore. They had it really solid going into the earlier parts of the map, just feasting off of any human error that Arkwin was making, as opposed to Boji here. But even with that one miss, and Origami Best also drops in accuracy as well, despite keeping on the FC. It's about 10,000 points in the favor for the Philippines for the time being going into the back of the chart. There's really a lot of room left for error. However, this is the point where misses are going to become a lot more crucial by definition in general.
A couple 200s there from Doggy, that sucks, but still keeping up the accuracy. That miss didn't really drop the accuracy too much, but then again, a miss is a miss, and it's going to require Philippines to miss back if Singapore want any chance of bringing this point lead down. But now it's going to stay in the favor of Philippines as Boji is increasing the accuracy once again, 99.99. Can't really ask for more right now from this player, and Arkwin holding him with the FC of his own.
It's really just accuracies like this that on maps that are really anchor and kind of spaced out core jack heavy that it really just allows players to do really well. I saw the 999K 18 perfects. Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Boji. You're not that good. You got beaten out by Rain Lily and Kalkai. But no, absolutely crazy though. 18 is ridiculous. Shout out to Doggy That Sucks and Origami Best though. Their ratios are actually really impressive. A couple of bad judgments, kind of messing up a little bit. That was the real difference. But if you kind of look at it there, without those bad judgments, I think this would have been very close between the two teams. Those ratios team-wide are actually quite similar.
Yeah, I feel like in general, however, even if it did come down to the Singapore V1 double S'ing from both Doggy That Sucks and the other player, Origami Best, yeah, oh sorry, I'm stupid. I feel like it probably wouldn't have mattered either way. Like, I feel like that was bound to be a victory for the Philippines just because even with Arkwin's overall ratio being a lot lower, like basically a multiple of both the perfect ratios that Singapore got, it's really just the lack of perfects that even Boji got that basically just made the accuracy on the Philippines a lot more scary to try and shred with. So I feel like here Singapore is going into the second ban wave. It looks like we're gonna have to go for more bans.
I don't get anything that Philippines are doing in their pick ban, but I won't question it. They're winning. You know that. Okay, objectively speaking, Rise 3 is something that I would have expected them to ban at the start. So I would say this is a good ban on paper for Philippines. Singapore is actually going to take out the entire LN section, so we are not going to be seeing LN2 again. It seems like we're being forced into the hybrids or the EX for the potential last pick. Hybrid 1 is going to be Singapore's choice here. Makes a lot of sense. I don't think Singapore want to be touching the EX picks at all. Hard maps are only going to favor Philippines more and more. We need to keep within those at least accuracy maps like we saw just then on Rise 4. But this one going to be a lot harder to maintain good accuracy than that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like generally for the Singaporeans, I feel like this is honestly a pick made out of pressure just because of the fact that I think by default they would have gone for Rise 3 anyways, but because of the fact that the Philippines actually went out of their way to ban that or something, that's basically just pressured them to pick into something that has to be perhaps one of the closest you can get to a Rise pick, which you can definitely see that with something like Midnight Driving, where it's basically just a mix of perhaps maybe maps like Ellen Free and then a bit of some Rise 2 here and there, maybe. I mean, the analogy probably doesn't really make as much sense as it's probably coming across right now, but I hope it makes sense at least.
Kura saying he wants to play Mai, as you do.
Of course.
As you do. Going to be Singapore's kind of last opportunity here. They need to Well, they would love to get some points on the board, I'm sure. But it is going to be hard if Philippines keep playing as they are. And for the first time, we're not going to be seeing Boji, because this one is going more into the LN pool. Actually, wait a second. I understand switching out Boji for some of the hybrid or LN maps, but switching in Arquin is an interesting replacement. Arquin also kind of, in my mind, is a very good Rice player generally.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
you're seeing Sunny.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I feel like in general, the Philippines is basically in a position where they basically just feel like they can do whatever they want. They have all the right in the world to do what they want to do, and I feel like I think if I was to think or try and think in their perspective, they probably feel like it doesn't really matter in terms of the team selection going into a map like this, because they already know that they have quite a substantial advantage over the Singaporeans in terms of team consistency and overall performances. However, I do feel like despite everything, Singapore does have the potential to try and snag a point from them if they aren't too careful. We have seen from Arquin kind of struggling and often replicating the accuracies that we see from Origami Best. Even though Origami, the first one to drop here, actually plummets under the 99% accuracy department for the time being. 10,000 points remain in the favor of the Philippines, and this is very early in the map, so a lot of things are bound to happen as the map goes on.
That was a very messy miss from Origami Best. It's going to take a lot to recover from that one. A complete misread of the pattern, it seemed, and it's going to be followed up by another cleaner miss this time. But it looks like the troubles are only continuing here for the Singaporean. Philippines are going to be cruising with their double full combo. Doggy That Sucks trying to keep up with Arquin right now, but no one able to come close to Kura's accuracy. And that's going to result in quite a large lead at the halfway point, just about.
Exactly. It's really hard for the Singaporeans in general to try and tackle such a team performance as this because of the fact that they have Doggy That Sucks trying to at least match the accuracy of Arquin for the time being. However, this is the same story that we have seen in maps such as Rice 2 or Rice 4, for example, where it's just one player in the Philippines is just sticking out like a sore thumb. They're literally doing so well that it's just genuinely hard to face off against them, like to a point where it even feels unfair for one of the lowest seeded teams going into this tournament.
Yeah, Origami Best finding another miss as well. This lead is only going to grow over time as Philippines just not giving any opportunity whatsoever for Singapore to really have a chance in this. That said, we do see, I mean, Doggy That Sucks still doing exceptionally well right now.
Yeah, especially then, Doggy That Sucks actually doing really well with the LNs and being able to manage the control aspect of this map, because this is definitely one of the most crucial things to try and at least take into account when going into a map like this, where you need to know how to control all of the LNs that are embedded within the patterns. We do see a very early leave from...
And Sani's swapping in.
Mate, the show is over. What are you doing?
But really strong once again. The team performance from Philippines not leaving any opportunity for Singapore to come back in, even though they did have very strong individual scores on the side of Singapore, just not quite enough. And Philippines, they're going to be moving forward in the winners bracket, while Singapore going to be sent down into the lower bracket. Going to have one more opportunity to continue and see what they can do against some of the lower seeded teams in the losers bracket.
Especially with what they have showcased in this match alone, they are definitely not a team that you can just simply shrug off. For example, they still have the potential to be able to try and fight for a lot of picks, especially the fact that they are relatively consistent across each category. Maybe more Rice than anything else in question, but again, this is just a really uphill match for them to fight, so there isn't really much you can really discern from here, besides from the fact that maybe they would have done a little better if they had perhaps an easier target that was more their size, for example. So once again, congratulations to both teams, and a really fair fight put up from the side of the Singaporeans as well. Singapore going to be knocked down into that losers bracket to face between Spain or Sweden. that's going to be a bit of an interesting one, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is going to do it for now. Here we are about 30 minutes away from the next match. I think we've got quite a few matches just happening in a row here as we round out the weekend tonight. So China versus Italy coming up, and a few others coming up right after in a row. Gonna be interesting to see some of these. China versus Italy going to be another one of these large seeding discrepancy matchups as well. So we'll see how Italy can perform against one of the powerhouses in China. But that is going to be at 11 UTC in about 30 minutes. So we're going to be taking a little bit of a break. Until then, make sure you go grab some water, go do what you want to do, but stay tuned back once again for another set of matches.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a bunch of matches to go through today, and there's a lot of really iconic countries facing off today as well. Like Poland vs Vietnam as well. That's a bit of an interesting one as well. Peru vs the Great British. And, oh yeah, Spain and Sweden over here, that is literally going to be the deciding factor for who faces either of the teams from the match we just had. And then we have the Germans against the Mexicans. That's also going to be a pretty interesting one, I'd say. So do keep on the watch for that one. It's going to be going all throughout today before we have the Round 16 map full showcase. And we will hopefully catch you all in about 30 minutes for another match between the Chinese and the Italians. So once again, this has been FMan2 and joined by Potassium F. We'll catch you in just a bit. See you all then. Bye-bye.